No oil, no army, no natural resources to speak of. It's smaller than Rhode Island. You could drive across the entire country in under an hour. And yet, it is the single wealthiest nation on Earth, per person. Richer than the United States, richer than Switzerland, richer than Norway. In 2025, its GDP per capita crossed $141,000 per person. The US sits around $85,000. So how? How does a landlocked microstate in the middle of Europe, with no coastline, no empire, and no fossil fuels, accumulate this kind of wealth? The answer involves medieval iron ore, banking secrets, global corporations, and one of the most audacious financial scandals in modern European history. This is Luxembourg, and it's time we talk about it.
Luxembourg, officially the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, sits wedged between Belgium, France, and Germany. It covers about 2,586 square kilometers. For context, that's roughly the size of a mid-sized American county. Its capital, Luxembourg City, is one of the 3 official capitals of the European Union. This tiny country is one of the EU's founding members, and it hosts major European institutions, including the Court of Justice of the European Union and the European Court of Auditors. Its head of state is a Grand Duke, Grand Duke Henri, making it one of the last Grand Duchies left on Earth, a genuine monarchy, in 2025. The population sits at just over 672,000 people. But here's where it gets interesting. Of those 672,000 residents, roughly 47% are foreign nationals. Nearly half the country wasn't born there. And every single day, approximately 230,000 cross-border workers, called frontaliers, commute into Luxembourg from France, Belgium, and Germany to work. That means on a typical workday, Luxembourg's workforce nearly doubles with people who don't even live there. Why? Because Luxembourg pays extraordinarily well. The average gross monthly salary sits around 6,191 euros. The minimum wage is 2,638 euros a month, one of the highest in all of Europe. People flood in because the money is simply that good. But why does Luxembourg have so much money to begin with? To understand Luxembourg's wealth today, you have to go back to the 19th century. In the southern part of the country, a region called Manette, geologists discovered massive deposits of iron ore. Luxembourg became an industrial powerhouse. Steel mills roared. Companies like Arbed, which would eventually merge into what is now ArcelorMittal, the world's largest steel company, were born here. For decades, steel was Luxembourg's engine. But steel is vulnerable. Global competition, market swings. The 1970s oil crisis hit European steel hard. Luxembourg faced a choice: collapse with the steel industry or reinvent itself. They reinvented. And crucially, they had already been preparing. Back in 1929, Luxembourg had passed legislation making it unusually friendly to foreign holding companies. Low taxes, light regulation, minimal disclosure. When steel faded, Luxembourg didn't panic. It doubled down on what it had quietly been building on the side: finance. Today, Luxembourg's financial sector accounts for more than 80% of its GDP. It is the second largest investment fund center in the world, right behind the United States. Over 5 trillion euros in assets are domiciled here. Let that sink in. A country of 672,000 people manages more investment fund assets than any nation, except America. How? Luxembourg created a legal vehicle called the SICAV, a type of investment fund structure that became the gold standard for European fund management. If a global asset manager wants to sell funds across all 27 EU countries, they set up a Luxembourg fund once, and it's passported across the entire continent. One registration, total access. But there's another layer, a more controversial one. Luxembourg doesn't just attract legitimate fund management. For decades, it offered something else: secrecy. Low corporate taxes, opaque banking rules, and most crucially, a system of quiet, private agreements between the government and multinational corporations. No public announcement, no debate, no scrutiny. Just a deal. And the corporations knew exactly what they were getting.
In November 2014, a bombshell hit. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, the same group behind the Panama Papers and the Pandora Papers, published what became known as LuxLeaks. The source was a young French auditor named Antoine Deltour, who had been working at PricewaterhouseCoopers in Luxembourg City. He began to have doubts about what he was seeing, so he copied the documents and handed them over. What those documents revealed was staggering. More than 300 secret tax deals, called advanced tax rulings, that Luxembourg had quietly struck with some of the world's most recognizable corporations. We're talking Amazon, Pepsi, IKEA, Disney, Skype, GlaxoSmithKline, Koch Industries, Black & Decker. These companies had routed billions of dollars through Luxembourg-registered entities, often nothing more than a mailbox address, to slash their tax bills to nearly nothing. One analysis found that a single office building at 5 Rue Guillaume Kroll in Luxembourg City was the registered address of more than 1,600 companies. Another building housed 1,450 more. These weren't bustling offices. They were shells, nameplates on a wall. The UK Parliament accused PricewaterhouseCoopers of promoting tax avoidance on an industrial scale. And here's the twist that made it even more uncomfortable for Europe.
The Prime Minister of Luxembourg during the years these deals were being made? Jean-Claude Juncker. The same Jean-Claude Juncker who, by the time LuxLeaks broke, had just become president of the European Commission, the top executive job in the European Union. The man now tasked with enforcing fair taxation across 27 countries had spent years presiding over a system designed to help corporations avoid it. The irony was not lost. As for the whistleblowers, Deltour and his colleague Raphael Halle, Luxembourg's courts initially convicted them of stealing documents. They received suspended prison sentences. After years of appeals, they were largely exonerated. The EU later strengthened whistleblower protections, partly because of their cases. But here's what's remarkable. Not a single corporation was charged. Not one.
To be fair, Luxembourg pushes back hard on the tax haven label. Officials point out that the country has cooperated with OECD transparency standards, signed automatic information exchange agreements, and cleaned up its banking secrecy rules after pressure from the Financial Action Task Force. The investment fund industry argues it contributes around 1 billion euros a year in tax, roughly 10% of the entire country's fiscal take. Luxembourg supporters say it isn't doing anything illegal. It's simply using the rules of the EU single market more cleverly than anyone else. Ireland does something similar with corporate tax. The Netherlands has its own routing structures. Luxembourg just happens to be the most visible. One Luxembourg financial official put it simply: success breeds jealousy. It's one thing we have to live with.
But here's the honest reality of those headline GDP numbers. Much of that $141,000 wealth figure is generated inside Luxembourg by people who don't actually live there. Those 230,000 cross-border commuters boost GDP, but they take their paychecks home to France and Germany. So Luxembourg's numbers look more inflated than the lived experience of most residents. That said, residents still live very well. Healthcare is universal, the welfare system is strong, but the EU's poverty risk indicator still puts about 21% of Luxembourg's population at risk of poverty or social exclusion. And the cost of housing in Luxembourg City has exploded. driven by the same financial inflows that make the country look so rich on paper. Wealth, it turns out, doesn't distribute itself evenly, not even in the wealthiest country on earth.
Luxembourg is a fascinating mirror. It shows us how geography doesn't determine destiny, how a tiny country with no oil and no empire can position itself at the intersection of capital flows and become indispensable. It shows us how the rules of global finance, written supposedly for everyone, can be mastered by those clever enough to see the angles before anyone else does. And it asks us a harder question. When a building in one small city hosts 1,600 companies with no real employees inside, when billions flow through mailboxes to avoid taxes that would otherwise fund schools and hospitals across Europe, who exactly is the system working for? Luxembourg didn't break the rules. In most cases, it wrote them, or at least read them better than anyone else. And that might be the most unsettling thing about it. 672,000 people. No oil, no army, no resources. Just an extraordinary talent for understanding where the money flows and being exactly there when it arrives. If this video opened your eyes, subscribe and drop a comment below. Did you know Luxembourg was the wealthiest country on earth? And if you want to go deeper, the full LuxLeaks investigation is linked in the description. The next video covers another tiny country with an outsized grip on global money. You're not going to want to miss it.